Okay, this is part 2 of lesson 11-3. The only thing different in this video from the last video, the first part of this lesson, is that we're just talking about a piece of a circle now. So before we took the area of an entire circle, now we're just going to figure out the area of a piece of the circle. So a piece, like a slice of the circle, is called a sector. Okay, so all we're going to do is try and figure out what percentage of the circle is this little piece, and then we're going to multiply it by the area of the entire circle, right? If the whole circle area is 100, and this is just a quarter of the circle, 1/4 times 100, right, is 25. So the area of just this slice would be 25. Hopefully that's making sense. So to do this, all we're going to use, they give us here, I'll highlight it. They give us the formula here. But we're going to find the area of the entire circle, pi r squared, and then we're going to multiply it by what this little slice is. So out of an entire circle, which is 360 degrees, this little slice right here in this example is 36 degrees. So that's 36 over 360. That's how big our little piece is, our sector. Okay, so we're multiplying the entire area by just what our little sector is. Okay, so that's what they've done over here. They've broken it down. Here's our little sector times the entire area. You do need the radius. Don't forget about that. And then once we simplify, we get they simplified to the nearest hundredth, 7.85 square inches, right? If we were doing it, I would have rounded to 7.9 square inches. All right, so we're going to do 6 exercises, and then there's a little word problem at the bottom. Let me zoom in a little. All right, so we are finding the area of each darkened space here, this little sliver, okay? Round to the nearest 10th, again, it tells us. So the area of the entire circle is pi r squared, so pi times 3 squared. And then we're going to multiply that by our little slice. So out of the whole circle, 360, this is just 45. So 45 over 360. Okay, so now 3 squared is 9. 9 times pi is 28.3. So we're going to say A equals 28.3 times 45 over 360. So we're just going to multiply 28.3 times 45, and then whatever we get on top, we're going to divide it by 360. Okay? So times 45 divided by 360. And we get about 3.5 if we round to the nearest 10. 3.5. So area of our little slice here equals 3.5. That's in feet. And area is squared. So when I first did this, I'm like, well, how is the area 3.5 feet squared if the entire radius is 3 feet? Wouldn't it be way bigger than that? But we're not looking at the whole area of the area of the whole circle. We're only looking at this little piece, right? This is just a little portion. So yes, it makes sense that the area of just this little piece or this slice is 3.5 feet squared. Okay, next one, same thing. So the area of the whole circle is pi times the radius squared. Radius is 10. And then we're going to multiply that by just our little slice. So this is 100 degrees out of a full 360. Okay, and when you multiply fractions, remember you just multiply straight across the top and then straight across the bottom, right? So it's like saying this is over 1. So I'm going to multiply everything on top, and then everything on the bottom is going to be 360. So really, whatever I get on top, I'm just going to divide it by 360, if that makes sense. All right, so 10 squared is 100. 100 times pi, 3.14 times 100. Oops, no, I don't want to do that. Pi times 100. Sorry, it's so dark. 314.2. 314.2 times 100 over 360. And this is where we're just going to multiply the top, and whatever we get on top, we're going to divide by 360. So that times 100 equals, divided by 360 equals 87.3, about 87.3. 87.3, and that's in meters squared. Okay, so that should make sense so far. The area of the entire circle is 314.2, and then when we multiply it by just this portion, we get 87.3. That makes more sense. It's less than half of 314.2. Makes sense. All right, this is almost the entire circle, right? We could basically find the area of the whole circle and subtract this little sliver, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep consistent and do what I've been doing. All right, so area of the whole circle equals pi times the radius squared, then times this entire slice, right? Well, if this little slice is 20 and the whole thing is 360, 360 minus 20 is 340. So the shaded, we're going to call it a slice. The shaded area is 340 degrees. So we're going to put 340 over 360. And again, really, we're just going to extend that and multiply everything on top and then divide by 360. Okay, so 7 squared is 49. 49 times pi equals this guy. And then we're going to multiply it by 340 times 340. And then that big number we're going to divide by the bottom, which is 360. And we get 145.4, about, if we round to the nearest 10. So it's about 145.4. And that is in meters squared. Okay, and if the entire circle is 49 times pi, which was 49 times pi equals 154, it makes sense that most of the circle is about 145, right? Just a little teeny tiny piece that we're not including. So it's making logical sense so far. Okay, next one. Now this is a little teeny tiny sliver, so it's not going to be very big. Area of the whole square equals the radius, 20, pi times the radius squared. And then we're going to multiply that by just our little portion. So this little slice is 15 degrees out of an entire circle, which is 360. So we're going to multiply all the top and then divide by the bottom. Okay, so 20 squared equals 400 times pi times 15 equals, so the area of the entire circle is 1884.95, so about 1885, right? And then we're going to divide by 360. So about 52.4. 52.4, and that is in feet squared. So it's a teeny tiny little portion of the entire circle. Okay, the next one, number 5. This is a big chunk of the circle. This is most of the circle, right? That's all shaded. We're just not including this little teeny tiny sliver. If this sliver is 36 and the entire circle is 360, 360 minus 36 equals 324. So this whole shaded area is 324 degrees. So we're going to say area equals pi times the radius squared, and then we're going to multiply that by 324 over 360. And by multiplying it by a fraction, we're really just multiplying everything on top and then dividing it by what's on the bottom. Okay, so 10 squared is 100. 100 times pi equals 314.2. That's the entire area of the circle. Times 324 divided by 360. Times 324 divided by 360. 282.7. So area is about 282.7. That's in meters squared. If the entire area of the whole circle is 314, it makes sense that most of it would be 282. That's almost up to 314. Okay, and then last but not least, number 6, we've got our little slice here, which is 88 degrees. So we're going to say area of the whole circle is pi times the radius squared times our slice, which is 88 degrees all over 360. Okay, so 7.5 squared equals 56.25 times pi, the pi button. Okay, so the area of the whole circle is about 177 almost. 177, and then we're going to multiply it times 88 divided by 360. And we get 43.2 if we round to the nearest tenth. So area is about 43.2 centimeters squared. And we said the area of the whole thing, what did we say that was? 177. So it makes sense that this is just a little piece of that, right? Not even half, maybe a quarter, almost a quarter, if not exactly a quarter. If we divided this by 4, 44.17, and we got 43.2. So it is about around a quarter of the whole thing, which is what it looks like. All right, and last problem here, sandwiches. Basically, Samantha's making finger sandwiches for a party. So here's a circle. She cuts the crust off and makes a circle, and then she splits up that circle into 3 congruent slices or 3 congruent sectors. So basically, what's the area of one of the little finger sandwiches? So we're going to find the area of the whole circle and then just divide by 3. That's it, because they're all the same size. Okay, so it's 2.5 inches is the radius. So pi times 2.5 squared. 2.5 squared times pi equals 19.63 blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to divide that by 3. So about 6.5. Area of one finger sandwich equals, we'll do this little guy, 6.5, and that's in inches squared. All right, so we literally just followed the same exact thing the entire time. Area of a circle, pi r squared, times the ratio of just the slice you're talking about compared to the entire circle. So if it's 40 degrees, you'd write times 40 over 360. If it was 90 degrees, you'd write times 90 over 360. Whatever your little slice is, over 360. Let me know if you have questions.